There comes a point in life when you just get tired. Tired of trying to be liked. Tired of pretending you have it all together. Tired of comparing your life to someone else's highlight reel. We live in a world that constantly tells us we're not enough, not successful enough, not beautiful enough, not something enough. But the truth is, you don't need to impress anyone. There's a quiet strength found in Japanese culture, a way of living that values stillness over speed, humility over hype, and authenticity over appearance. It teaches us that peace doesn't come from being admired, it comes from being real. So today, let's journey together into the heart of Japan to discover how their timeless wisdom can help us let go of pressure and find serenity in simply being who we are. In a world that constantly tells you to be more, the Japanese philosophy quietly whispers, "You are enough." In Japan, there's a deep respect for simplicity, seen in their homes, their habits, and their hearts. People find joy not in owning the most, but in cherishing the least. The concept of shibui, understated beauty, reminds us that the most profound elegance lies in simplicity, not extravagance. When you walk through a Japanese village, you'll see homes that aren't trying to outshine each other. They coexist in harmony, each embracing quiet charm. This way of living teaches something powerful. We don't need to prove our worth through possessions or appearances. The more we chase approval, the further we drift from peace. When you stop trying to impress others, you begin to hear the soft voice within you, the one that's been waiting to say, "You are enough, just as you are." And maybe that's the greatest success of all, to live a life that feels right, not one that only looks right. Japanese culture teaches a beautiful truth through Wabi-Sabi, the acceptance of imperfection. A cracked teacup, mended with golden lacquer through the art of kintsugi, becomes even more precious because of its flaws. The philosophy celebrates what is broken, aged, or imperfect because it tells a story, just like us. Too often, we hide our scars, emotional, physical, or spiritual, fearing judgment. But imagine if we saw our own cracks as art. Each mistake, each heartbreak, each setback, all of it shapes who we are. The Japanese remind us that life is not about chasing perfection, but embracing the authenticity of our journey. You are not less because you've been broken. You are more because you've survived. So, instead of covering your flaws, let them shine like gold. Because your imperfections are proof that you have lived, learned, and kept going. At Japan, there's a concept called ma, the space between things. It's the pause between two musical notes, the emptiness between words, the quiet moment before you speak. It's not about what's there, but what isn't. Ma teaches that space itself has meaning. It allows beauty, balance, and peace to exist. In our fast-moving lives, silence often feels uncomfortable. We rush to fill it with words, noise, validation. But what if we stopped? What if we allowed stillness to breathe through us? When you learn to embrace Ma, you find clarity. You realize that not every silence needs to be filled, not every void needs to be replaced. Sometimes peace is found not in doing more, but in allowing yourself to be. Like a serene Japanese garden, your life doesn't need constant activity to have value. It just needs balance and the courage to rest in stillness. In Okinawa, where people often live past 100, there's a secret. Ikigai, your reason for being. It's that sweet intersection between what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, and what you can be paid for. But more than that, it's about waking up each morning with quiet joy, knowing your life has meaning even in small things. When you live with Ikigai, you no longer feel the urge to compete or compare. You find peace in your own path. A Japanese fisherman doesn't envy the businessman. A potter doesn't wish to be a celebrity. Each finds fulfillment in their craft. That's the beauty of Ikigai. It brings you home to yourself. When your purpose is clear, you stop seeking validation from others. You simply live, fully, deeply, joyfully. And in doing so, you inspire others, not by trying to impress them, but simply by being alive with purpose. There's a Japanese phrase, Shikata ga nai. It cannot be helped. It's not defeat, it's acceptance. Life doesn't always go our way, and in those moments, instead of resisting, the Japanese choose to bow gracefully to what is. They understand that peace doesn't come from control, it comes from surrender. When we try to impress others, we often cling to outcomes, how people see us, how situations unfold. But Shikata Gane teaches us to let go. Not everything will be perfect, not everyone will understand you, and that's okay. True strength lies not in holding on, but in knowing when to release. When you stop fighting what you can't change, you make space for serenity. And in that space, you rediscover your calm, the kind that doesn't need validation, applause, or approval. It's just quiet acceptance and the grace to move forward. At the heart of Japanese living is a quiet authenticity, a way of being that honors simplicity, respect, and inner balance. You don't need to be louder, richer, or more beautiful to be seen. You just need to be real. In Japan, even the smallest act, a bow, a cup of tea, a walk through nature, is done with mindfulness. Every gesture becomes a reflection of sincerity, not performance. When you stop living to impress, you begin to live to express. You express gratitude, compassion, presence. The Japanese way reminds us that peace isn't found in applause, but in alignment, when your inner self and outer life move as one. So, breathe deeply. Release the need to be admired. And remember, life's greatest beauty often comes in quiet moments. When you finally realize that you never needed to impress anyone to be worthy of love and respect, you just needed to be you.